Hi, it's me again with Corel Tips and Tricks. Somebody sent me this logo, pretty cool, but it's really fuzzy. And it's got two colors, and if it was printed, uh, the magnolia flower would not really matter that it intersects the text. I've kind of done it. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. I got the flower to get out of the text, but I did not do it for this text. One, I didn't know this font. This is pretty much Times New Roman. I'm almost, well, it's a little bit different. But if the person I'm trying to help, maybe they'll know the font. Now, the first thing you'll notice is how big the bounding box is for the logo. And if we're going to trace it, we don't need Corel to have to trace all that. So with it selected, make sure it's selected, because if you don't have it selected, it'll go away, or everything else on the screen will go away. And try to get it as close to, the item. So now it's quite a bit smaller, and you can still see the bounded box. It's not very big. I'm going to set my nudge factor on 5. This is a little different than any trace I've ever done before, because it's really difficult to separate these colors. But I'm just going to go to Trace Bitmap, Outline Trace Clip Art. And I'm going to bump up the detail to 100%. And I'm going to take the trace one and move it over. Now let's look at the bounding, or let's look at the rectangle tool to see if there's any white, which there's going to be. But I'm not really worried about the white in this case. Because what we're going to do, hopefully this will work again. I'm going to get rid of the yellow box. Well, you know what? I'm going to put it back, but I'm going to expand it over. And then while it's selected, I'm going to go and lock it. That way I can't select the yellow. So we've already traced it. So I'm going to go to Object and Group and Ungroup. And then I'm going to try to get rid of all this brown, or not get rid of it, but move it around. And if we look, this is like 59, 142. There's a bunch of different browns. So with that selected, I'm going to go to Edit and Find and Replace. From Selection, Find All. I'm going to go ahead and Control G to group it. I find that a lot easier sometimes when you have to move something over. And we got the majority of the flower. Now there's a lot missing, and there's some extra stuff here. Let me unlock my yellow box. We don't really need it anymore. Well, we do. Well, we don't. Well, we do. So we're going to leave it alone. So what I'm going to do now, if you remember, I grouped this together. So I'm going to ungroup it. I have to click on it and go to Object, Group, and Ungroup. And you can see some trash here that's left over from the text. Now, if it's connected to anything, we'll have to change it later. Like, we can't get rid of that. We can get rid of this right here. How we can, and I'm going to go ahead and make it all black. And I'm going to take my black and right click, or excuse me, left click. And now I'm going to get rid of this part that's left over from the text. And we can hit that node and hit delete, hit that node and hit delete. Then let's zoom in here and let's get these two nodes and select both of them and actually right click and turn them into a line. That way it didn't delete anything. Now we have a bunch of trash on this side. So first I'm going to get rid of the white. I'm just going to start deleting the white, because I don't want the white over there. But I want this other stuff. I want this other bits and pieces of this logo to make the whole thing complete. So I'm just going to nudge these over with my arrow key going to the right, and just, take a little bit of time and try to get all the gray matter. It'll maybe leave the white. It doesn't matter what color it is right now, because we're gonna change it. But what I'm trying to do is separate it from the text, because the text doesn't trace, and so we're gonna have to deal with that. But I'd go ahead and try to get every little piece of the flower And you can do that by selecting, well, let me get rid of that. Selecting all that and just nudge it over. So I'm just using my arrow key. And then we'll move that over. Try to get as much as the flower as you can. These are the outline of the flower. And a couple other pieces. And we might even go up into here. Nah, I think we're good enough. We've got enough of the flower to work with. See how I added all the gray? So now I can just take it and select it all and make it all black. That's pretty good on the flower. Now you could go through and tweak some of this in the flower and, put it there. Make it a little thicker. And when the outline's gone, you could add parts of the flower, like that might even be part of the text left over. So we're going to do the same thing, just get rid of that node by hitting delete. You don't have to hit your calculator. That worked out well. And at this time, you could smooth some stuff. We probably don't need that little bit of bit. So I'm going to call that good. And you could still, and this would be, I just did a video that Mr. Roy Brewer, my mentor, helped me do with photo paint. This might be a good one to photo paint. If it works out, I might make that happen. So I'm going to Control G to group it. Now the text, and if you remembered, I nudged. So what we're going to do, we're going to type out MT in capital. We're going to make it a little bigger, and we're going to make it into Times New Roman. That is pretty close to, I think, that font. If it's not entirely. It's a little bit different, but look how it matches. So we're going to just now nudge this over. But that's not going to, they're going to engrave this on a cup. That's not going to work because it's just going to kind of blow that out. I'm going to get rid of my yellow box finally. So what I'm going to do is go right here, and I'm going to make a duplicate of it and go down. And I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to left click, right click, and I am going to go up to Object and Contour. I'm going to contour the outside like 0.05, just a little bit. And you could do more or less. Go up to Object, break Contour apart, grab our contour and bring it over, and then select both these and trim it. So that took out that spot. Now we can get rid of that and bring our real text back in. That way the part of the flower isn't interfering. And maybe you could do less of a contour, just depending on the person. Now, if you remember, I've never moved anything, so everything's still good. And I'm going to actually have to use this one to get the text off of. In all capitals, but also there's spaces between the letters. So I'm going to put in spaces between the text. Then put a couple spaces. Whoop. Anyway, we got that. Now I'm actually going to take it and make this yellow. And I'm going to use this font. But I need to take it over to my one we have that we nudged. And it's kind of hard to see because Corel just does not trace fonts. And we're pretty good shape. You could change some things around. But then move them over, nudge them over, turn them black. So we might want to do exactly the same thing on this because this is going to be hard to read. And for surely that's what they've done. So let's get rid of that right there. Let's take our text and move it over. Let's make a copy of it, move it up. Let's take this one and left click, right click. Let's take our title. Let's move it over here and let's put a box around it. So I'm going to hold down the shift key and double click on the rectangle tool, and that put a box. Now I could contour this, but I'm just going to hold down the shift key and make it grow a little bit bigger. And then since we have our box, we can nudge this over. And what I'm going to do is just, instead of, trying something fancy, I'm just going to take the Smart Fill tool and get the part, and I'm going to nudge them over. You could nudge them over later. But what this is doing is putting a box for our Magnolia text. Now, you might want to do the same thing with the flower in there. That's personal preference. You could take that same box and put it over here. And what I'm going to move? Well, I'm going to select that and then select that. No, not select the letters. Select the box, hold down the shift, select our flower, and I'm going to do trim, and it trimmed that out. Now I get rid of our box, and then I can move my Magnolia title back over. And then that way, see how much more readable it is. And like I said, I would go through here and either add some details to the flower or just clean some of these things up, like that right there. Okay, if your shape tool never doesn't work because you've got them grouped together. So now with our shape tool, see, we could get rid of that little bit of a part. Yeah, that did that okay. So that looks good. And then you could, fill in some of the broken parts. But I think once she has the text, that's, some of this stuff really looks bad. Just make it more solid. You could play around with this, forever. Get rid of that. And, she, like, that's what I call this a whoop-de-doo. So take this node, shift select the other node, and then right click and turn it into a line. And it'll take out that whoop-de-doo. Of course, it kind of messed up more of this line. What I would probably do in this case is select all that and just delete it. And then take this, actually add a node, make it a little square. I'm having trouble adding a node. There we go. And then take both these nodes and just bring them up in here, making your flower a little more. And you could do that all the way around. And then the same thing on the Mississippi. Here's the one I did. But I did not, on this one, I did not put a box around the letters. And in this, you really need to know the font. Of course, that's quite a bit bigger on the original one that I practice with, and just make it smaller. I think that would engrave pretty good. A little bit more cleaning up. I mean, it is a flower. This is probably one item you really can't use the smoothing tool on. It's going to smooth out these parts, but it's really not going to put anything together. So I would use the shape tool. And when you see a bunch of nodes that are all connected, just delete them, and then take these and make it thicker. Whoop. Kind of make that line. This would almost be a good case let's just do it. Let's delete all these. Delete that. So the shape tool is pretty cool because once you select, it'll just delete. So you could take this line, and I would even go further with this and take the 3-point curve line and go from there to there, put a little curve to it, make it something other than a hairline. Don't worry about it not being black. Just make it black and see how much. And then if you will take that line and convert the outline to an object, then you'll have more nodes to work with. And you could take your nodes and, put it way up in here, make that flower look a little more. Then you could grab that little bit of a node and put it up there. That makes it look quite a bit better. And if you did that all the way around, and see, you could take that node and go there, actually add a node, go out. And once that's all black, it's going to engrave black. And I don't know if you remember what that looked like, but that made a really big difference. And, things like that. Why clean up all that and that when you can, one, either draw a line or take these two nodes and bring it out and then use sometimes this is less easy than we think. See, it just makes a better line. And we're getting into our text here. So stay away from your text. And you can make this a little bit different looking. You could actually just bring this down. Make it look more like a flower. I truly hope that helped this person or anybody in the future. And thank you for watching.